Hello everyone. Today we are going to look at another horrific situation with you. A wedding is one of the most anticipated and emotionally charged events in a woman's life. However, not all aspirations of happiness have the fairy tale conclusion of they lived happily ever after and died on the same day. Today we find ourselves in Somerset, England. This region of southwest England is known for its well-preserved medieval castles, ancient towns, and King Arthur stories. However, they are not the only legends that surround the present country. On the morning of September 12, 2012, a local citizen called Orlando was hurrying home from a late-night shift at a petrol station. He had promised his wife that he would take their young daughter Maria to daycare. Loud music was playing in the car to keep him awake as trees along the road passed by one after another. Coming out of a sharp corner, he noticed black smoke. Orlando slowed down. A nearby parking lot was filled with smoke after a car caught fire. Orlando came to a halt and hurried to get a better look, but the fire prevented him from getting any closer. When firefighters arrived, 4 minutes later, the automobile had totally burned out. The arriving police roped off the area with safety tape to keep the crowd at a distance. The area was vacant so early in the morning, and there were no witnesses around who could explain the exact minute the incident occurred. A burnt body was uncovered while studying the location. The police had to identify the victim and investigate the cause of his tragic demise. There were no traces of an automobile collision or skid marks anywhere nearby. Likewise, no tire tread tracks from another vehicle were discovered. The authorities initially believed that the car would self-ignite or spontaneously combust owing to a defect. A lengthy investigation and several expert studies are ahead. The remains were taken to a forensic laboratory to determine the deceased's identification and the cause of death. Fragments of the burned car were also transferred to the forensic laboratory to determine any malfunctions and the origin of the fire. The police began their inquiry by reviewing the missing persons database and recent cases of disappearances. Forensic experts were fast to identify the dead. Catherine Wells Barr, 23, is a local resident. Raphael Novak filed a missing person report on the same day in connection with the young woman's disappearance. According to Raphael Novak's report, he departed for work at 5:30 a.m., while his girlfriend Catherine was still sound asleep at home. Despite working for the same employer, his shift began 2 hours sooner. When Catherine did not show up for work after this period, and Raphael was unable to locate her at any of her relatives, he called the police. The investigation began. The police questioned the victim's parents and sister, as well as Raphael Novak, who reported her missing, and all of her co-workers and friends. They were able to reconstruct a chain of events that led to the young woman's untimely death by gradually piecing together information about her final days and, eventually, years of life. Till and Jai. Now Wells Barr gave birth to Catherine Wells Barr in the United Kingdom in 1989. She was the second child in her family, following an elder sister named Lynn. During a university break in the summer of 2010, Catherine met Raphael Novak, a 31-year-old employee on a new vacuum cleaner production line. Catherine was immediately drawn to the towering, ruggedly gorgeous blonde. He was a Polish immigrant who had a past wife and son back home. He had relocated to England 4 years ago in quest of a better life. Catherine and Raphael soon began dating. They began by meeting for lunch at the industrial site cafe, but these lunches rapidly evolved into passionate dinners. Raphael courted Catherine beautifully, giving her lovely bouquets, taking her to the movies, and going for walks. Raphael opened up to Catherine, telling her about his past and reasons for relocating to the UK. Catherine's trusting heart allowed the blonde man in entirely. Their romance grew so quickly that Catherine introduced Raphael to her parents after only a few months together. They gladly accepted their daughter's choice into the family, hoping for the couple's future happiness. Soon, the couple was arranging their wedding. Catherine graduated with honors from Bath Spa University in 2011 and secured a promising position as a business analyst at Pneumatic International, the manufacturer of Henry vacuum cleaners. She successfully advanced in her work, creating job prospects for her parents and sister. Catherine was clever and well-educated. She always knew how to approach people, was concerned about her co-workers' difficulties, and was extremely aware of those around her. Her gentle eyes and bright smile won over those who admired the young leader. Catherine Welsbar's career was rapidly progressing. Her enormous earnings, along with those of her companion, Raphael Novak, enabled them to buy a large property with a terrace in Willow Way. Despite their financial situation, the house was purchased with a mortgage, for which the young couple obtained insurance coverage as agreed with the bank. Youth, prosperous careers, and love. It appeared that they had everything necessary for happiness. However, the terrible day of September 12, 2012 marked a turning point in their lives, transforming everything from before to after. The research continued, revealing fresh and surprising details about Catherine and Raphael's lives. Over time, the curtain that had surrounded their relationship from the beginning began to lift. Raphael Novak, 29, fled Poland, leaving behind a wife and child to avoid substantial debts. He moved to the UK and met Anna Lagbanovich. They've been close since 2008. Then Catherine entered the picture. Raphael considered both ladies for a long, but eventually decided on Catherine Welsbar, seeing her as a better option for a family and financial stability. While Catherine genuinely desired a happy marriage with the man she loved and the start of a family, Novak was plotting a scheme to end her life, intending to leave the life insurance payout and the large house to himself and his mistress, Anna Lagbanovich, for which Catherine had contributed a sizable portion. The strategy for this atrocity was methodically prepared and carried out with even more cruelty and cold-bloodedness. After a few hours of waiting, Raphael approached Catherine's manager to check about her whereabouts. In front of Catherine's colleagues and relatives, he pretended to be terrified and devastated. Catherine was not located at either her parents' or her own home. Her automobile was also missing. Raphael remembered that she had been receiving threatening letters from a mentally disturbed admirer for quite some time. Following this, her family called the police. The family sat in the living room of the young couple's home, waiting for her return, when they learned that a burning car with a body inside had been discovered. Raphael stated that the evening before her disappearance was completely normal. The couple had gone for a walk after work, stopped at a store for groceries, ate dinner, and then went to bed together after watching TV. Catherine didn't seem terrified or upset. However, a more thorough inquiry revealed that her death happened earlier. Catherine was strangled around 2:00 a.m., most likely in her own bed while sleeping. Her deceased corpse was placed in a car, driven a short distance from the residence, and set on fire in an attempt to destroy evidence. However, Raphael Novak had a good alibi. He had been at work since 5:30 a.m., and Catherine was sleeping in bed when he left. The flaming automobile was found between 6 and 7 a.m. However, Raphael was still at home around 1:30 a.m., which substantially shifted the case's trajectory. Raphael Novak became the primary suspect in Catherine Welsbar's murder. Novak was arrested for additional investigation based on the evidence presented. Raphael said that Catherine was being stalked by someone who had regularly written to her, driving her insane. During the investigation, it was discovered that Catherine did have accounts on multiple adult websites, indicating a hidden part of her life that her close friends were unaware of. Intimate images and flirtatious interactions with guys were discovered, along with a letter from a hidden admirer. However, no matter how long you try to hide the truth, it eventually comes to light. Raphael forgot to delete the evidence confirming his direct involvement in Catherine's death in an attempt to confuse the investigation and lead it down a wrong trail. Importantly, this presented the prosecution with a motive. Investigators revealed that Novak never stopped communicating or meeting with Anna Lagbanovich. They have met regularly in recent months. Furthermore, it was discovered that the man had a financial interest in Catherine's death, as they both insured their lives for Sohn $123,000. Catherine and Raphael were the sole beneficiaries of the insurance contracts and received the rewards for each other. The acquisition of a large life insurance payout surfaced as the key motivation in the case involving Catherine's death and the arson of her automobile, confusing the investigation. On the day of her disappearance, Catherine texted Anna Lagvinovich. In addition, video cameras revealed that a few days before the crime, Anna and a relative, her uncle, filled a full canister of gasoline at a petrol station. As a result, a third party became involved in the case. Anna Lagvinovich, 32, and her 38-year-old uncle, Tadev's Dmitry Sheen, were both suspected of committing intentional crime and arson to conceal evidence. The trio plotted the crime painstakingly over several months. They meticulously prepared for the act, setting up accounts on pornographic websites, posting manipulated images of Catherine, and forging and preserving exchanges with different males, all to derail the investigation with a false trail. They couldn't ignore the indisputable evidence for long. When Rafal and Anna understood that continuing to deny was fruitless, they began blaming each other. The man maintained that Anna developed and carried out the plan to eliminate a rival because she was envious. In contrast, she accused Novak of committing the crime out of avarice, intending to collect the insurance money in the mansion. In order to evade detection, the conspirators spun a web of callous lies around a genuine and joyous young woman. They put her phony profiles on websites where individuals look for casual, intimate relationships. The conspirators went to great efforts to conceal their crime, not only lighting her body on fire, but also creating an entirely fictitious history for her. They wanted to show Catherine as a promiscuous lady, full of secrets and desires. They convincingly portrayed a strange lover who could have taken her life. One of the conspirators sent a text message from Wellspar's phone to this fake man at 5:17 on the day of her death, implying that she was on her way to meet him. However, forensic scientists established that when the fire started in the automobile, Catherine was just wearing her favorite nightgown, not an outfit suitable for a rendezvous with a man. They discovered a missing pillow on her bed, and the only pillowcase was laundered and hung on a clothesline, leading the police to suspect she had been suffocated. Detectives discovered a SIM card in Anna Lagvinovich's car that was linked to the phone number Catherine was supposed to text that morning. They discovered notes she had scrawled in her flat trash bin in search of inspiration for messages allegedly sent by the unknown person. As soon as Novak and Lagvinovich knew the game was over, they both claimed Catherine's new death was the work of a paid criminal. A week before the trial, Lagvinovich asked a fellow inmate to discreetly pass on a fabricated confession from an imagined hitman who said Novak paid him £20,000 sterling to end Catherine's life. The story written by Lagvinovich may have provided a disturbing insight into what happened to their victim. According to this fictitious hitman, Catherine's body was found in the car's trunk. Novak was overjoyed that he had taken Catherine's life, the alleged hitman wrote. I helped him get her into the driver's seat. Novak took the tape off her mouth and put on her shoes. He secured her seatbelt and kissed her goodbye. At 6 a.m., I approached Catherine's car and set it on fire, per Novak's directions. Rafal Novak performed the character of a loving boyfriend admirably in the days preceding Catherine's death, holding hands and kissing her in front of family members. He told her mother, Jane, I've lost my world and my future. Rafal Novak refused to admit his role in the young woman's death and went on to inform her mother, Jane Wells Barr, that her daughter was receiving emails and text messages from an ex-boyfriend who said if he couldn't have her, no one could. To round out the story, he claimed she discussed suicide. Worse, Novak allowed the grieving Wells Barr parents to console him, assuming he was also mourning the young woman he loved. Rafal's acting was so convincing that Catherine's mother, Jane, hugged him after her death and gave him permission to phone her. She stated that after the police informed her in the early stages of the inquiry that he was viewed as more of a witness than a suspect, she decided to provide him with every possible support. I figured if Catherine loved him so deeply and he was a member of our family, he deserved to come back. The lengthy trial began under the chairmanship of Justice Sharp. During the trial, the jury heard that the three defendants wanted to earn a sown £123,000 sterling life insurance payout, as well as half ownership of a two-bedroom home in Mangold, Somerset, worth £137,000 sterling. According to the court, Rafał Novak exhibited no emotion when police discovered the woman's body in her charred car on September 12th. Anna Lagvinovich, who frequently shook her head and laughed on the defendant's bench when Novak accused her of the crime, declined to testify. Dmitry Sheen also did not testify in his defense at the trial. Sharp told the defendants that the murder was a horrific, brutal crime perpetrated in cold blood and with a gross breach of trust. Neither of the three expressed any emotion throughout the sentencing. Judge Justice Sharp sentenced the three Polish nationals to obligatory life terms with a minimum of 32 years in jail and no option of early release. Sharp remarked, "You took the life of a beautiful young woman who had everything to live for, just for money." Rafał Novak, the images of you holding Catherine's hand the night before her death, shopping for what you knew would be her final meal, are very terrifying. Your feelings were directed solely at yourself. Anna Lagvinovich, your actions were deceptive, manipulative, and nasty. You had a full role in this heinous crime. And you, Tadeusz Dmitry Sheen, committed a murder for financial gain. There were significant aggravating circumstances and no mitigating circumstances. The judge continued, "Many tears have been shed in this court, but the only ones that should be cried are for Catherine and her family, including her mother Jane, father Philip, and sister Lynn." The court conveyed deep compassion to Catherine's parents. They had no idea that Rafał Novak's veneer concealed a guy bereft of remorse and humanity. The judge explained that it was all about the money. Novak and Catherine had no links that connected them. They weren't married and didn't have children. Money, selfishness, and greed fueled Catherine's crime, whereas jealousy and a desire for revenge drove. Anna Lagvinovich's. At the parents' request, Judge Justice Sharp read comments from Catherine's mother and sister. Her mother wept in court as her statement was read. It stated that Catherine was a caring, loving, genuine, generous, devoted, thoughtful, remarkable, and amazing young woman. She had a bright and exciting future, full of possibilities. Her parents, Phil and I, were extremely proud of the young woman she had become. Catherine's death, a horrible, deliberate act of villainy, and the hatred directed at her will haunt us for the rest of our lives. I never got to say goodbye, tell her I loved her, or hear Catherine say, "I love you, Mommy." She now thinks Novak to be an awful guy who should spend the rest of his life in prison. Philip, Catherine's husband, adding, "We welcomed him into our home. He acted like a son and betrayed us all." Rafał Novak, who was covered in tattoos, wept in the witness box during the trial, stating he had nothing to do with his true love's death. A father of one with a wife and a teenage son back in Poland told the jurors, "Everyone is blaming me for something I did not do." The court heard that Novak was emotionless when police discovered Catherine Welsbar's death in her torched automobile on September 12th last year. Her mother, Jane Welsbar, told the jurors that he did not mention Catherine and instead requested a steak meal after being released from police custody. Mrs. Welsbar stated that her daughter's fate was sealed as soon as they purchased a home and obtained life insurance. "I told the cops her life had a bounty on it, and she had signed her own death warrant when she signed the mortgage." Thus, Rafał Novak, a 31-year-old factory worker, was found guilty of suffocating his lover with a pillow while she was sleeping. He then conspired with his secret lover and her uncle to claim a sewn $123,000 life insurance benefit and a part of the house. His secret lover, Anna Lagvinovich, 32, and her uncle, Tadeusz Dmitry Sheen, 38, drove Welsbar's body to a remote place and set it on fire. Lagvinovich and her uncle, 38-year-old Tadeusz Dmitry Sheen, who also lived in Taunton, are thought to have transported Welsbar's body in her Ford Focus to a rural site 7 miles outside the city. They lit the automobile on fire at 6 a.m. when Novak was already at work, giving him a strong alibi. The Royal Court of Bristol. Jury found Rafał Novak, Anna Lagvinovich, and Tadeusz Dmitry Sheen, all of whom are originally from Poland, guilty of the crime. The crime was the result of months of secret meetings and phone calls between Rafał Novak and his Polish lover, Anna Lagvinovich, with Catherine entirely oblivious of her involvement in what turned out to be a love triangle. The accused spent months leading detectives on a false trail, creating bogus profiles for the girl on adult websites and sending her messages from an alleged mysterious boyfriend. Following the verdict, the parents of the young woman who died, Catherine Welsbar, asked for tighter immigration rules. Philip and Jane Welsbar, who have split following their daughter's terrible death, argued that Rafal Novak, who was convicted of beating his wife in Poland, would not have been permitted to enter the UK if immigration regulations were as severe as those in the United States of America. They blamed the European Union and claimed that the UK should revise its admission requirements for foreign nationals. Jane Welsbar, 46, stated that family members of Catherine Welsbar wept in court when the sentence was pronounced. The three culprits displayed no emotion. The criminal trio received life sentences with no hope of release. They now have their entire lives ahead of them to plan criminal plans, but they will have no opportunity to put them into action. Thus, via their own efforts, the Polish immigrants exchanged their expectations of a successful and prosperous life for free prison cells. After the verdict was announced, the victim's mother said her final words, characterizing her daughter as, "We were robbed. Thanks for watching, gentlemen." Subscribe to the channel. There are many stunning stories ahead.